Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Or you can subscribe to the channel, click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Let's talk boxing. I know a lot of people aren't going to want to talk about Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul, but listen, the fight's happening. And you have to understand that on this particular channel, what we do here has always been, we obviously cover we discuss the sort of more intellectual or psychological aspects of the sport, and we try and nitpick those as well. But we also do a lot of technical breakdowns. And the whole thought process behind that is, how do you overcome any given obstacle? If I was to fight Floyd Mayweather, how would I go about beating Floyd Mayweather? What's the correct game plan? Well, let's say for argument's sake, Logan Paul contacted me and said, Chris, listen, man, I've been watching your videos. I heard some of the complimentary stuff Hatman was saying. So I thought, you know what? I'm a YouTube fighter. You're a YouTube performance analyst, I guess we'll call you. Let's make you into a YouTube trainer. Let's do this. Let's make this fight happen. I want you in my corner. Let's come up with a game plan to beat Floyd Mayweather. I'm earning 100 million. I'm going to give you 10%, a trainer's fee. What do you say, Chris Andre? What am I going to say? No. I'm probably going to ask for 12%, but that's a whole different point. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to accept the deal. Well, what am I then going to do? Well, listen, you're about to get battered, mate. So, of course not. You've got to come up with a game plan. So how would, if we're looking at it from an engineering perspective, a boxing engineer breaking down how and why what happens, how do we find a method to unlock the enigma that is Floyd Mayweather when you are Logan Paul with his physical traits and his skill set? So first and foremost, I'm going to say this. Logan Paul has been working for an X amount of time, and we don't know how consistently he's been working. Jake Paul has accused him, his brother, of not taking the sport seriously and being a part-time boxer, whereas Jake Paul says he himself is a full-time boxer that has been training daily for a number of years now. Let's say Jake is just lying. I don't know, they're playing a role. And Logan Paul has been working very, very hard over the last 3-4 years. Is it possible that Jake Paul has reached what would be a domestic level light heavyweight, or even a journeyman light heavyweight, domestic level in the UK light heavyweight? And if so, how would Floyd Mayweather cope against a domestic level light heavyweight in the UK? Well, the answer to that question is it depends if it's a straight up boxing match or if the light heavyweight wants to turn it into a brawl. If it's a straight up technical boxing match, as long as Floyd can take the power and he's shown a very good chin, or at least he protects the chin very, very well over the years, then you have to back Floyd Mayweather. So let's consider a guy like Ricky Summers for argument's sake. Okay, Ricky Summers is ranked 17th in the world by BoxRec, in the UK by BoxRec, 115th in the world by BoxRec. He has a record of 17-3-1, with 6 of those 17 victories being by a knockout. So let's imagine Ricky Summers was to fight Floyd Mayweather. Would his size advantage, his height, reach advantage, be able to offset the superior skill set of Floyd Mayweather? If he turns it into a boxing match, does he have enough to be able to make the extra size count, in other words? And if not, how about if he turned it into a straight up brawl? It becomes an interesting discussion to have, an interesting topic to think about. Is it impossible that Logan Paul, if he's been working in the last 4 or 5 years, has reached a certain level that would enable him to compete at a domestic level in the UK or even in the US, a regional level, say, because obviously the US is a much bigger country than the UK? Would he be able to be a very good regional fighter? Well, look, we don't know the answer to that because Jake Paul has said that he doesn't live the life, he doesn't take boxing seriously. So we'd have to assume no. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that he both can. I'll do one potential approach for whether he can and one for if he can't. And we'll just talk about certain physical advantages he has and how he potentially use those. Bear in mind, it's not impossible, like I said, for a guy to reach that level. You've seen it with other athletes that have crossed over the sport. You look at guys like Curtis Woodhouse. It did take him a number of years, but he moved over from football, or soccer, as our American friends will call it, and he won a British title, a welterweight title, or was it light welter? It was one of the two. The point is, You've got guys like Seth Mitchell. The point is you have had athletes that do crossovers where they do reach a respectable level. Now, let's assume, to start with, that Logan Paul can actually box a little bit, that he has reached a decent level. Well, Floyd Mayweather has had obviously a wonderful career. His skill set has been very reliant, however, on the fact that he has usually, if not always, a significant reach advantage over opponents. Certainly when you reached any sort of decent level. Maybe there was a guy early in his career that had a reach advantage over him, but when he's reached a really good level, that was a real game changer, because he would punish guys who were on the outside attempting to come in. He would consistently punish them with fast, sharp, hard, accurate, pot-shotting counter punches. He would offer a target, set traps, make you fall short. You'd then get desperate. You'd start to run in. If and when you'd manage to get him off of center ring and push him back onto the ropes, you realize, my word, this guy's a lot better than I thought he would be on the inside. All of a sudden, this isn't the mismatch I initially thought it was. This is a much harder obstacle to overcome. And because you're desperate, because you know that he's been beating you the rest of the round of those shots from distance, now you're starting to load up on all these shots and you're looking for power punches. He sees everything coming. He's able to deflect, counter you again, and starts to bust you up. And he often had a size and reach advantage. He often did. He knew how to maximize those advantages, as we all know. And this is one of the criticisms he gets. He gets called a cherry picker and stuff like that. Check out the latest video I did when I was in a debate with another channel discussing Floyd versus Manny Pacquiao, right? And you could see that these are some of the things that he legitimately gets criticized for. Against Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor is not a professional boxer, and although he's a brilliant fighter, holistically speaking, the method in which you move and operate within a boxing ring is very different to how you operate in an octagon. In a boxing ring, when you try and cut off a guy, because there are corners, you can cut him off by leading him into a corner, and all of a sudden, you've got an opportunity to essentially cut him off. In an octagon, it's different. The movement is different. But additionally to the movement being different in an octagon, you can actually set a guy up differently. Because in boxing, you want to slide across and stop a guy from escaping and staying in his face like that because of the corners. In an octagon, you don't mind if they go around like that because, well, Conor doesn't anyway, because he likes to sort of be slightly off at an angle and he'll land a shot, a powerful shot, as you're getting out. And then he'll step across in a different manner. So in other words, it's hard to explain without showing you footage of this, but the angles he has work for him differently in an octagon than they would in a boxing ring. So you never would have expected a guy like Conor to come in and compete with one of the best boxers of his generation. But early in the fight, this narrative that Floyd Mayweather was just letting Conor McGregor hit him, I've never bought into it. I think it's ludicrous. If you're going to tell me that Floyd was conserving energy because Conor ran across like a bull in a china shop, throwing a million punches around and not even knowing what he's doing, no thought process, and he was waiting for him to gas because he's always had stamina issues, and again, the way you operate in an octagon is different, there are no body shots and things like that, he'll let him gas and take him out, then I'll accept that. But if you're telling me he was purposely getting punched in the face early on, where he was reaching for a shot and he ended up with a counter and getting caught with an uppercut counter and other powerful shots too, I don't buy into that. Floyd, the reason he was getting caught early like that is because he wasn't used to facing a guy who's taller than him, who had a reach advantage. And Floyd is the one that had to go across the ring, go on the hunt, cut him down, and start to overreach. Floyd's traps are no longer working against the guy who's not willing to even bite at the bait, right? And I've often been asked, if you were to pick one guy, just one guy, if you had to put a lot of money on it from history, you were to clone a fighter of the past to beat Floyd Mayweather stylistically, who'd be the one guy you'd pick? It would be Tommy Hearns. Because Tommy Hearns, in my opinion, with that reach advantage and the power that he carried, he would have been lighting up Floyd from distance. And even if he wasn't, and Floyd was deflecting a lot of those shots behind the shoulder and evading them, he still would have had to have closed the range. And he's not Marvin Hagler in his style. So coming inside against a big puncher like that who's long, he would have had hell to pay. And so I believe Tommy Hearns would have beaten Floyd quite convincingly, to be honest with you. Now, Logan Paul is not Tommy Hearns. But theoretically speaking, if he's gotten to a point where he can actually box at a domestic sort of level or regional level, he would have to be very lead hand dominant. Do not commit to that right hand. Do not sit there trying to turn it with straight right crosses, because what's going to happen, he's going to set traps for you, pull counters and so on and so forth, apply a lot of foot pressure, and he's going to start banging you out every single time you throw that right hand, and it's going to fall short. He's going to get inside with left hooks, he's going to get inside with lead right hands, and he's going to go into land flush. Get behind that lead hand, turn off to the side slightly. You don't want to be too square on, because we know that Floyd has a really, really effective jab to the body. He's going to throw feints and then come in low and throw that spear-like jab to your solar plexus. And when you are Logan Paul, you are not going, even if you look the part, you're not going to have the sort of fighting conditioning that will enable you to go a number of rounds with absorbing that sort of punishment to the body. This is one of the things that MMA fighters struggle with when they try and cross over to boxing, because they're not used to body shots. You can get some serious kicks to the ribs and stuff, but when it comes to consistent attacks to the body, where it really starts to take its toll on your breathing, you don't get that in MMA, because you grapple on the inside. Well, that doesn't exist as much in boxing. There's a clinch, but it doesn't exist as much. You can go to work up close. Logan won't be used to that. He's not even an MMA fighter, right? So you've got to be careful of that. But if you can just keep him at bay, turn off at the shoulder, throw a lot of feints with the jab, don't even commit with the jab, put your weight on your back foot, make Floyd come to you. Let him take center ring. You move back. And if you see after a couple of rounds he's not able to get inside, and when he does get inside, what we want you to do, Floyd often throws that lead hand up there, right? That forearm, and he makes you run into it. He doesn't throw it to your face. If you're going to come into him, you throw it up where it would sort of come across your face. You'd end up running into it. So you can't run through him. You're the one with the height advantage now. You're the one that's going to have to use that lead arm in that way. Work on that head control. If he's trying to feint his way and come in, and then he does jump in, you've got the choice of either stepping in when he doesn't expect it, so that you can close the range on him, again with that forearm across the face to stop him from going to work, keeping him off balance. And then if you've got that head control, then you can throw some big shots on the inside. But tie him up, essentially. Work on tying him up and leaning on him. Let's see if those 40-year-old legs or 41-year-old legs or whatever he is now can hold up this bigger, heavier, muscular man consistently over the course of 8 rounds. Lean on him. Lean on him. Do a Vladimir Klitschko if you're capable of doing that. If not, take those little steps back. Those little feint jabs. We've seen that he's got a nice uppercut against KSI. Nice, relatively speaking. We know that this guy is a novice, okay? I'm not sitting here comparing him to one of the top guys. Rather than commit with a straight right hand, who knows? If you're throwing that jab and he starts to come under it, he might look to come under it. Something we've never seen Floyd do before. But if he does do that, because you are the taller man, you can start to lead him with an uppercut towards the chest as well. Don't aim for the head, aim for the chest and the body, because with Floyd's upper body movement, you want the more stationary target. And if you're going to be leaning on him and you are going to be landing the odd shot to the solar plexus, who knows whether he'll end up gassing, whether he gets old overnight. Boxing is not just about skills and also an athletic pursuit. Who knows whether you can take enough out of him. Now, realistically speaking, I doubt that's going to be the case. And what we're going to end up seeing is a guy who's big and muscular and looks the part, who is very uncoordinated. If KSI had him breathing heavy and gassing, and I thought Logan won that fight the one time I saw it back in the day. I thought that they took away a point from Logan, right? And I thought without that point being taken, Logan wins the fight. In other words, if you're just looking at it as a fight and forgetting all, or did they take away a point, or did KSI get dropped and it didn't count? Something happened that was controversial, I'm not sure. But whatever the case might be, not that I care too much. I remember thinking, okay, Logan I think got the better of that if you take out all the points elements and just look at who won the fight. But it was a very close fight. Now, if a YouTuber is going to make him look gas, imagine what Floyd Mayweather can make him do with things like foot pressure and feints, right? But let's say, for argument's sake, all he's got is the physical attributes. How do you approach this? You've put him in the gym. You've had him sparring some slicksters. It's not going well at all. Well, one of the things I would work on, therefore, is how to close the range and make it physical. Forget trying to win rounds. Like I said, forget trying to make the end of the fight. If you're there to actually win, you're going to have a range of about 2 rounds to try and make your physicality count if you cannot box at all. Don't try and see how it goes, because he'll bust up your body. He'll land some flush shots. He can end up taking you out of there early. Find a way to protect yourself. Keep your chin low. Protect your temples, the areas that he can really affect you in the head. And you're going to have to absorb some punishment as you look to close the range quickly. You can't just come up behind rabbit ear defense, because he will then destroy that solar plexus. But because, like I said, the taller you are, the more you're offering an up close. If Floyd's free to throw combinations, when you're the shorter guy and you're up close, height is a disadvantage for 2 reasons. Number one, there's more of the target to aim at. And number 2, I can achieve full trajectory of the swing of my shots in comparison to you, where I'm on your chest and you need more room to talk and operate. So he would have to work on getting physical in the clinch on the inside if he's going to do this. Come in at an angle off the shoulder rather than, like I said, square on. Try and get close to him. Try and use head control. Land a low blow early. Why not? It's an exhibition. Who cares? What's the ref going to do? Take away a point? It's not getting scored. Throw one shot low. Hold him. That head control. Get him in headlocks. Throw punches when one arm's free. All the dirty stuff. You're going to have to make this dirty. Try and lean on him. And who knows? If you happen to throw a big shot, power's power. Okay? It doesn't matter whether you know how to fight or not. Right? It doesn't, if you know how to deliver that power, you have to have a certain level of basic technique to know how to deliver the shot. But if you know how to deliver a shot, it doesn't mean that if a guy's more skilled than you, he punches harder than you. Logan Paul probably hits a lot harder than Floyd Mayweather. Logan Paul has the power, I would assume, if he was to land flush on Floyd. If Floyd was just standing there and Logan Paul punched him in the face, he'd knock him out. If he punched him right on the chin, if Floyd's just standing there with his chin in the air. The reason Floyd won't get knocked out is because he'll roll with shots, he'll deflect shots, he'll see shots coming, he'll slip them, he'll bob and weave and stuff like that. If Logan lands something huge, who knows what could happen? So that's the way I'd approach it. Now, in other words, my game plan for him will depend on how he's been looking in the gym. If he can box at a basic level, or whether he is just an athlete, essentially, who has no real chance. Either way, I wouldn't expect to see anything other than Floyd Mayweather dominating this guy and knocking him out. But let me know what you would do if you were approached by Logan Paul. Thanks for watching, everybody. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.